where am I making things too complicated? Where am I twisting myself into a pretzel so that I can conform to what I think it is that other people are expecting of me? Where am I just taking my natural gifts and talents and actually forgetting all about them because I'm so focused on presenting information or myself in a way that some story in my mind is telling me that I need to show up in this different way that's different from how I naturally and joyfully and easily show up. Welcome to How to Trust Yourself, the podcast for anyone who's done with the endless second guessing and ready to tune in to your inner guidance. I'm Anna Holtzman, and I get that feeling of trudging through life like you're wading through mud, trying to figure out which way to go. In my 20s, I spent more time asking what should I do with my life than writing about crushes or bad dates in my journal. I've tried on a lot of answers: architecture, publishing, editing reality TV for a decade, and finally landing on therapy and coaching, helping people like you connect with your purpose. But here's the thing I've learned through all those twists and turns. Trusting yourself is the key to moving forward, even when the path feels messy. So if you're ready to stop doubting yourself and start listening to your gut, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Welcome back, dear listener. When we are stepping into visibility or leadership, it's so easy to lose our sense of self-trust and try to overcomplicate things, try to make ourselves into something that we are not already, because either we think we need to do that in order to give people what they want, or we think that if it doesn't feel like intense and uncomfortable effort, it's not really worth anything, or we just simply forget that who we innately are is enough, is the most unique thing that we can offer to the world. And we just forget to simply trust ourselves and trust our intuition that the way we innately show up is what we are here to do, is who we're meant to be. And today I want to share a little story about this that I hope will inspire you to trust yourself. And this story took place recently in the group that I lead, which is called Seen and Safe. It's kind of I describe it as a visibility incubator, but I think it's really more of an incubator for becoming the next version of ourselves, which is something that we're always in the process of doing. And not too long ago in this group, we do something called a heart seat, which if you've ever been in a group that has a hot seat element to it, a hot seat is when one person shares a problem that they're struggling with, or a project that they're working on, or just something that they'd like to get feedback or support on. In Seen and Safe, we call it a heart seat because that term just embodies really the personality and nature of our group, that loving, supportive energy. And one of our group members brought something to the heart seat that she was struggling with. She is a practitioner whose work has a great deal to do with neuroplasticity and helping her clients make a particular kind of transformation or growth or journey through using the tools of neuroplasticity. And she wanted to come up with a presentation that she could give in order to educate people about what is possible through the work that she does. And she was getting kind of stuck on how to describe the science of it. And, I think this can happen to a lot of us when we get into something that just has, first off, it's something we care about a lot. And therefore, the stakes go woof, way up, sky high. And second of all, it's something that we've put a great deal of study into. We've taken the time to deeply learn something. And so there's kind of this aura of seriousness about it. And it has to be, we feel like it has to be very, very serious in the way that we present it. And we can get really stuck in this space of seriousness and high stakes, and those things can lead to a particular kind of tightness and contraction where we're really like squeezing in our life energy and not allowing a lot of oxygen or humor or lightness to flow through that would help our creativity to emerge and help our intuition to flow. And this isn't something that we're doing on purpose. It's just something that happens to us, again, particularly when we're working on something that we really care deeply about. So, I certainly have had this happen to me many times, and I'm guessing you can probably relate to it in some way yourself. And so she was getting just kind of stuck on how to put together this presentation and explain the science in a way that came across clearly and accurately and all that stuff. And then she shared with us that a friend of hers had recently said to her, "Well, how would you present it if you were going to give this presentation to children?" Suddenly, it was like a light switch went on because this is the reason her friend probably asked her this. She has worked with children for the large part of her career and was just now turning toward doing a new kind of work and was designing this presentation for adults. But as soon as she was asked how would she present it to children, the switch flipped and all of her creative energy and ingenuity and innate talents and intuition suddenly, it was like the dam was released and it all began to flow. Ideas were coming to her. She knew exactly how she'd do it. She was having fun with the process of coming up with this presentation. And when she told us this story, it was so interesting for me to notice what I was feeling in my body experientially and to look around our Zoom screen at all the different faces of our group members and see just kind of everybody's face, including my own, light up and sort of our shoulders relax and just kind of like this collective exhale seemed to come over the group because listening to this story that one of us was telling just brought each and every one of us into our own experience of where am I making things too complicated? Where am I twisting myself into a pretzel so that I can conform to what I think it is that other people are expecting of me? Where am I just taking my natural gifts and talents and actually like forgetting all about them because I'm so focused on presenting information or myself in a way that some story in my mind that came from who knows where is telling me that I need to show up in this different way that's different from how I naturally and joyfully and easily show up. For me, it brought to mind a particularly poignant story about an area of my life where I had been trying to bend myself into some version of a role that was really not myself for a long time. And that role was, I am a stepmom to my stepdaughter. And we have always had a really warm, easy connection with each other. But where I struggled during the early years of my being a stepmom to her is that I just had this idea about what I should be, how I should show up, what I needed to do in order to be worthy of this role, in order to show up adequately in this role, and maybe even in order to like prove myself as a good enough stepmom to her and to my husband. And it was like all of these things I was telling myself I had to do. Like I should cook meals when my stepdaughter is with us. I should be doing more cleaning around the house for some reason. I even just like as basic as I should be home and present every single time that she's with us and for the entire time that she's with us. And I should be available and attentive, y- every minute of the time that she's with us. And as you can imagine, those expectations, purely self expectations, were creating tension inside of me. Because being present and like being on and available for the entire duration of spending time with another person, even when it's a child, is just simply not realistic. So, that wasn't the real me, wasn't authentic to me. And the tasks that I was putting pressure on myself about, like, I should cook meals. I mean, I like to cook on occasion once in a blue moon, but it's not really my sweet spot or comfort zone in general. Um, and so, yeah, it was just like creating these expectations that I was putting on myself to show up differently from how I just naturally would, were creating internal pressure. And then that internal pressure, of course, it kind of seeps outward and everyone can feel it, even if they can't quite put a finger on it. But I was putting those pressures on myself because subconsciously I was afraid that if I didn't do X, Y, or Z that I thought I should be doing, then maybe I wouldn't be a good enough stepmom, and maybe my husband would be disappointed in me, and maybe my stepdaughter wouldn't feel loved by me. None of which turned out to be true. And one of the moments when it clicked for me, it was really like a gradual process of letting go of these internal pressures. But a moment when it really clicked for me was one day, not all that long ago, maybe it was 6 months ago. My husband and I were just kind of lounging around on a weekend, and my stepdaughter was in her room doing homework, and he and I were just chatting with each other. And sort of out of nowhere, he turned to me and said, I just so appreciate the way that you show up in my daughter's life. And it just, something cracked open in me because I realized that by me just being me and interacting in the ways that are natural to me, those aren't things that I think of as doing anything. He said things like, "You're so kind with her, you're so understanding, you're gentle, you're warm, he used all these different words that I just thought, "Oh, that is making an impact? That's a thing that people are noticing?" Like, I'm not thinking about trying to be kind or trying to be warm or trying to be a safe presence around her because I'm just enjoying our relationship and I'm just being myself and existing in proximity and interacting in the ways that feel natural to me. And it dawned on me that me just being me is adding something to the life of our family, the life of my stepdaughter, the life of my husband that wouldn't be in their lives if I weren't there. And just like, of course, the same is true the other way around. My life would be completely different if my husband were not in it, if my stepdaughter were not in it. And it's not because of the lawn work that my husband does or the great job that my stepdaughter does on her homework. It's not because of any of those things. It's because of their essence and what they contribute to my life on an energy level, on an emotional level. And it clicked for me that the same is true of the way that I show up in their lives. And this is such a metaphor for the ways in which we don't recognize often or appreciate the innate value of simply showing up as ourselves, not only in our families, but in our friendships, in our professional lives, in our businesses, if we have a business, in our work with our clients, in our creative endeavors, in every area of our life, relationships, and work. And without someone else to reflect this to us, it's so hard for us to see what our natural talents and the unique gifts that we bring to our relationships and to our work and our creations. It's so hard to see that ourselves because we're just being ourselves. And it's so difficult to define who it is that we are or what it is that we're bringing to something without someone else who sees it as new and different and as something that's contributing to their life without having other outside people reflect it to us and help us understand how we are actually showing up and what we're actually bringing to the table. That is just one of the many purposes that Seen and Safe, my group, my visibility incubator group, serves. It's every single time that we meet, there is some version of this that unfolds where somebody is just kind of speaking their experience out loud and feeling like they're fumbling around in the dark with it, feeling like they need to change or make themselves different in order to show up in the quote right way. And then they get to have others in the group reflect to them how they are innately showing up in our group and how that can translate into whatever project or business venture or client work or relationship issue they are wrestling with how to approach. So, as you're listening to these scenarios that I'm sharing with you, I want to invite you to take a moment to think about where in your life does it feel like you are efforting or contorting yourself or striving to become some version of a role that really isn't quite you. That's something you're trying to turn yourself into, and it feels hard and pressurized and just kind of energetically misaligned. And then take a moment to just breathe into it and ask yourself, what would be a joyful, easy way to move forward in this area of my life? What am I already doing that feels good and that feels like it flows and that's already working that maybe I haven't even recognized or acknowledged or given credence to? And if you feel like you could use help with this, which I know I need help with it, and I am always part of a group, a coaching relationship, a peer exchange of some sort. If you feel like you could use some reflection and support to just simply help you get unstuck from your pretzel of contortion and get back into the flow of what you were put here to do and how you were put here to show up in it, we have a couple of spots open right now in Seen and Safe, and we would love to have you join us. The group is capped at 17 members, so it never gets too big, and it always has this feeling of intimacy and safety. And right now, we've got a couple of the spots open. If you'd like to check it out and learn more about our group, see if it might be the right incubator for you at this particular point in time, you can go to annaholtzman.com/seen and safe. And you can also write me an email and ask any questions that you have. I'm always here at anna@annaholtzman.com. So good to be here with you today. Let me know if something resonated from this episode. And until next time, take good care. If you enjoyed today's episode, please do me a favor. Hit that follow button so you don't miss a thing and leave a rating or review. It helps more people find this show, and honestly, it makes my day. And if you're looking for more ways to trust yourself and start listening to that gut instinct of yours, come hang out with me on Instagram at Anna_Holtzman. Let's keep the conversation going. Thanks so much for listening. And until next time, trust yourself. You've got this.